Welcome back to the channel. I'm Oliver Phil. Today I'm working on a DX160 Duetz, and I got it split here. And one thing we're doing, along with a clutch pressure plate and flywheel, is we've got a rear main seal leak in here. So I'm going to get this taken off, cleaned up, get the rear main seal replaced, get that all put back together so it can set up. And then I'll get the pilot bearing in, and then we'll do the throwout bearing assembly and get it put back in here, and show you how that works. Let me get you set up and we'll go from there. Okay, so you can kind of see here the trail of clean aluminum cover where the oil has been leaking, and it's built up here on top of the seal. So now's the best time to do it. So you got three really long bolts here on the bottom. Yeah, they like to do this. There's some really long bolts in the bell housing that hold this together. They go through that entire opening, which I'll show you. So get these down, because I'll clean all these up. Excuse me. And move over to these. There's about 8 of these, 1/2 inch. So everything on this is metric, so 13. And then I got also a leaking down from the top, a number 6 valve cover gasket. So I will get that changed as well. See if I can't move it a little. That might have wiggled it loose a little. There we go. So what we'll have to do is, when you get down to where the cover meets the oil pan, we'll use RTV silicone on that. Alrighty. Don't look too hateful. Get that all cleaned up. There is a gasket here. Well, they used RTV the last time, which is fine, but I actually have a gasket. So I'll get all this scraped off, and then I'll get you back for installation. Cleanup, I like these carbide scrapers. Don't have to go crazy with them. They do a good job. Let me get this all cleaned up. All right, so I got this all scraped and cleaned up. I got the gasket in place and the new seal pressed in. And I use little Indian head shellac on the gasket. And get this all sealed up. I got ultra black or ultra gray. Just don't want it smelling like vinegar. Get it put in here. Thin layer on the bottom here, and I'll put a thin layer on the cover. Don't want to go too crazy and shove a bunch into the oil pan. Not that I think it'll make it down there, but I've seen it. Alrighty, get that cleaned off. Wanted to get this put on and set up so I can get to another project while this sets up. Put a little bit of grease inside the seal here. It's always fun to hold on to. Alrighty. Everything's cleaned off. Let's see about putting it on here. I use a little pocket screwdriver to help get this started. There it goes. Alright, got that on there, got the RTV on the bottom. Got the grease on the seal to help it slide on. And a new gasket. So now put these bolts in the hole. I'm going to torque these to 30 Newton meters. Somewhere around 18 foot-pounds. much as I've seen people run them down with a gun, I have learned to use a torque wrench for a lot more things. I've had a lot less issues. Now this I'm just snugging. You can hear I'm not cranking on it. Don't forget we got 3 bolts going in the bottom. Making the long trip up. I don't snug the bottom ones yet, because I like to draw the cover to the back of the engine first, instead of tighten the bottom and then draw the cover in. Jump across here. I feel like Bob Ross. This is how I do it. You can do it your way. So we got happy little bolts. So now that I have that rear plate drawn in, then I will run these up until they're snug. And we'll get them torqued. And ideally you'll see some RTV come out because you're sealing it up. I just alternate drawing them down somewhat evenly. Now being these are into aluminum, back it off just a little bit. There we go. Biggest thing is just even. So that'll do it. I'll let that set up. And that is the rear main seal replacement procedure that I do on a Duetz DX160. Like I said, I just clean the cover up, press the new seal out, press the new seal in. I like to use a gasket, put the gasket on it. I use a little Indian head shellac in between the cover and the gasket. And then RTV on the bottom, get it all nice and clean, and then I torque it all down. So I'll get you back on the flywheel, clutch, pressure plate install, and the throwout bearing assembly. All right, so I got the clutch throwout assembly here cleaned up, and this is the old bearing. Here's a new one. So what we'll do is we'll press this into the housing, and then this gets pressed in the center of the bearing. That's what's going to push against the fingers of the pressure plate. So we'll get you over to the arbor press. Got this thing set up here. See if we can't get this pressed in. Alrighty. Got that pressed into the bearing. I cleaned it up. So now that it's seated, we'll get that pressed into here. Okay. So there we have it. Bearings all pressed in. Everything moves nice and smooth. So now we'll get that over there and put into the tractor. Alright, so got this clutch rod here and the actuator, and that's what'll push the throw out. And what I'll do is I put a little bit of fresh grease where those points will contact, and then I'll put a little bit of grease inside where it's gonna slide on the shaft. So just inside here, and that'll slide on here. Just inside these, I want to make sure it's seated in the actuator there. And let's get that cleaned up. And then once that's on, I like to verify fitment. Let me go see where the pliers are. Oh, there they are. And we got two springs. They'd come from the back side here, and they go around here, and that's what pulls the bearing back away. Alright, so get a hold of this with spring right here, and then that's what'll get put around right here, just like that. Same thing on this side. See if I can't move the light so you can see it. Grab a hold, put them on. So, just like that, spring's on here, comes over into this groove. Same thing on this side, in the groove, catches on this lip back here. Tough to see. Try to get it in there. There we go. And then there's where the actuator contacts. So it'll push up against the flat surfaces of this throwout casting. Looks good. Just a little bit of grease, don't need to go crazy. And then we have slight wear on the PTO splines, but as you can see, but not much. I've always been told, kind of like on a lot of Olivers, a half worn out set of splines is better and will last longer than a new shaft that they make today. And then now I'll get the pilot bearing and the flywheel put on and get to that step. Alright, so we got the pilot bearing here. I'm going to get it put in. You already saw where we sealed this cover real good to the pan. You can see good RTV coming out there. New gasket that has been Indian head shellacked in place. All the bolts torqued down, new seal. No signs of a folded lip or anything. So, got a new pilot bearing. It's going to go in here. So that you can hear that tone change. So you know you're seated. And then on this one, there is a ring that goes in after. And when you remove that, you definitely want to get the there. Hold that steady. Definitely want to take that ring out first, because trying to pull that bearing out with the ring there makes it seem like it doesn't want to go. So now we have the pilot bearing in. Let me see if I can get you a little better here. And the ring is in. So slightly different setup than some. For the most part, all of them are the same. And she'll be ready to go. So get the flywheel put on and get her slid back together. All right, we got the flywheel on. All the bolts are cleaned, a little bit of blue Loctite. We're going to get these torqued down to 72 Newton meters, and we'll go from there. Well, got the clutch and pressure plate all torqued down and installed. So now I'm going to move on to the valve cover gasket on cylinder 6 here so we can get her slid together. All right. One bolt, one gasket. All right, got the valve cover cleaned. These gaskets have a adhesive on one side. Stick it onto the valve cover so you don't lose it when you put it in there. I'll get this cleaned up here on the head and get it put back on. All right, got it all cleaned up. Get this slowly up over top. There is a feature on these Duetz that if you were going to work on a bunch of these valve cover gaskets, this fuel tank will hinge up so you can work from that side. So got that down. It is kind of nice the gasket has an adhesive on one side, so you're not fighting it. And grab my wrench. Got it on there. All right. Sealed up all the way around. That'll get cleaned off and no more leaking. Now let's get this thing slid together. All right. Well, as you saw, maybe a little faster than we wanted it to be, but got her all slid back together. All the bolts are in. So now I will go back through and just do some seals, clean some stuff up, get everything hooked back up. But wanted to show you guys just a little quick video of doing the clutch on this DX160, and just with trying to get planted and working ground, haven't really had time to make a ton of videos, or at least longer length ones, because I'm trying to just go from one project to another on my own stuff and other people's, just to try to make everybody happy. So here's kind of what I've been doing, and hopefully to get a lot more video of being out in the field here soon. We're gonna have a couple days of break in the weather. Not sure it'll be enough for me, but we'll keep trying. So as usual, I appreciate you being patient. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to try to keep getting content out there and better my video and camera skills, so hopefully that will improve. Thanks again. Catch you on the next one.